Hey, welcome everyone to my first video on my channel, my first photography editing tutorial video. And I wanted to welcome you to what hopefully is going to be a series of videos on my my editing workflow, um, photography basics, um, particular aspects of the photography editing process that I can share with you in hopes to empower you to become a better artist, and hopefully you can pass on to other people as well. So once again, please thank you for being a part of this. This is brand new for me, so I hope that you're able to take something away from this video. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, make sure and please leave those below the video for me today. And make sure and subscribe and like the video as well. That does nothing but help me out. That can eventually help me make more videos. So without further ado, let's go and get started. Today we're going to focus on, a basic editing workflow. Um, we have, I took an image here. This is Glacier National Park from 15, I want to say 15 years ago. And so got, a little waterfall here. It's an image that I'm very fond of. I remember this trip. It's the last time I've seen Montana, which is kind of like my second home. And I do miss being there. This is one of the greatest places in the world to visit is Glacier National Park. And I advise everyone at some point to go see it. Um, I would see Yellowstone first and then see Glacier. But nonetheless, great place to be, great place to visit. But let's go ahead and focus on the image at hand now. So we have this image, got the waterfall here in, taken in, the afternoon from what I remember, at that time of the day, you have the highlights of the waterfall, kind of messing with the sensor quite a bit, saying that, oh, it's super bright, we're going to bring our exposure down. And therefore, the elements around the waterfall are darker. And so the camera has been stopped down to offset the quote unquote brightness coming off the water. So we're going to fix that. Obviously, our eyes can adjust for that. The camera cannot. It's very imperfect. And so therefore, it's a dynamic range. Obviously, is not going to be what our eyes are. Okay, it's the reason why we can see clearly inside and outside, looking out the window of a house. Camera does not do that the same way our eyes do. So we got to account for that. We got to fix that. All right, we can do that in post, but we're going to get accustomed to some of the basic editing workflow techniques that I have, and hopefully make your images a little better. So I'm really kind of appealing to the crowd that's kind of at the beginner stage of the editing process. Um, so certainly, like I said before, if you have suggestions, or you have a different way, please leave those comments for me below the video. I am going to stay extremely humble making this video, so I'm not above reproach, I'm not above correction. So I'm willing to obviously listen to any suggestions that I can do to make myself better. So excuse me. On that note, let's go and get started. All right, so the first thing I want to do, I'm going to take a look at my histogram, and it's a pretty solid histogram. There's a lot of information in the darks and shadows here. I got a little bit of clipping, but I'm not real concerned about that. It is a tiny dot right over here in the image. So I'm going to take my highlights down first and foremost, and I'm going to blow those out. We still have room there on the right-hand side of the histogram, so I'm not going to take them down all the way. That's what taking them down all the way looks like, and it needs a little more, a little more oomph in the highlights there. I'll leave it about right there. Okay. So we're going to come back down here now to, I'm taking away some data there. So I'm going to come down here and I want to take a look at the detail tab. All right. The detail tab, I think I might have already done some denoising on this, and I have, and it's basically pretty clean. I shot an ISO 100, went ahead and applied the denoise in the raw details on this particular image, and it's pretty clean. It's very clean, actually. So we're going to start with the process here of editing. We're going to bring out the dark areas and balance them across the board with the brighter elements. So let's take a look at the um, mask tool. and bring up the brush. So I'm utilizing Lightroom here. I'm going to bring up the masking tool. Okay, so we're going to take a look here at these different options. I'm going to select landscape here. I want to see what landscape does. I want to see what this tab. Okay, so this tab does a pretty good job. A tab with this selection. Um, do natural ground. And it allows you to pick some things in here. I'm not going to select all of it. Vegetation, probably. I'm going to select that. Okay. It's pretty safe. I'll create that mask based upon that. I selected some different options there. So anything in red in this is we're going to affect just those pixels and nothing else. Okay. Now, I don't want to utilize these sliders so much here. At any point, I'm really not interested in utilizing these sliders in great detail. I do like utilizing the exposure for a little bit, but not a whole lot. I'm going to bring out some of the detail there, and that's not even a stop, which is actually quite a bit. All right. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit, right about there. Okay, so it's still a little dark there, but I've increased the exposure a little bit, and now I'm no longer clipping. So it does, provide me some a little more balance in the image. It's not so bright in areas and so dark in others. So we don't have this stark contrast in the scene. We're kind of leveling things out and kind of balancing a little more. Okay, we still want to keep the depth of it there. We still want to have that range from darks to brights, but in a very controlled manner where it's not like blown out and disgusting, where we have really super bright parts and really super dark parts where you don't need that in this particular scene. So this is a pretty to me, in my opinion, a healthy, balanced image so far. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and keep this mask. So I'm just going to affect the areas that are shown in red. Okay. Show the overlay there. I want to add some contrast there. Add some that difference between the brighter parts and the darker parts. We can really refine that edge and make it very clear, not clear, but very distinct is what I'm trying to say. All right, so we're going to add some saturation, just a tiny bit. I don't want to overdo it. Okay, 15 maybe too much, but I think so far it looks okay. All right, you can always check this. Come here to the mask and turn on and off the eye. You can see the difference that we've made in just the mask. So we've really made the areas here in the foreground pop, a little more detail. So now I'm going to come over here, down here to the effects panel, and I'm going to add some texture into the vegetation and the rocks to kind of just make it pop a little more. And bring it up here to 100%. You can see a little better. There's a pretty good view of it right there. You can turn this on and off. You can see how that really brings out the areas there in the foreground with the rocks, the trees, the vegetation, the grass. Okay. And so I'm pretty content with that. I may want to come up here and add a little bit to the shadow areas. You can see, oh yeah, there we go. You can add a little bit to the shadow areas. Once again, we're just affecting the areas that are in the overlay, in the red shaded areas of the image. That's the only pixels that are affected. We're not going to affect every single pixel at one time. That is not very healthy. That will not yield a very professional looking product at the very end. Okay. So we have so far what we're after, kind of making this image look better, more polished. Now at this point, we're going to come in here and add sharpness to the same areas. Okay, we'll zoom in. You can see there a little sharpness added to the vegetation. We can once again always check by turning on and off the mask, and it really makes this stand out and look much more polished. There we go. Okay. So you can say, all right, well, how about the water? Can we work with the water a little more? We certainly can. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's select the landscape and let's select the water. And while that mask right here, the Lightroom does a great job at selecting, you know, the parts of the image that it really needs affecting. So let's go ahead and create that mask. It's going to affect the water here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the clarity Okay, come back into the effects panel. Here's the clarity. And I'm going to bring this down and watch the water kind of smooth out a little bit. Not too much. There's the all the way down to -100. I'm not going to take it that far, but what I will do is I will bring it down here to about, that's pretty good about here, 65. Let's say 66, 65, 64. That's good. So we can come in here and take a look at the difference in the water. It creates that flow, glow effect, if you will. This to kind of make it nice and appealing. Zoom in here 100%. Maybe we can see any mistakes or maybe back it off a little bit. But I think overall, in this particular image, was only an 8 megapixel image. This looks pretty decent here. Okay, this was shot in 2010, so it's been a while, and I've upgraded my equipment quite a bit since then. But there we have it. There we have our image, so to speak. It's all basically edited to go back and show you where we started versus what we have now as a result. To really see the improvements in the vegetation, the landscape, and even in the water. Okay, and so maybe we want to make some adjustments. We can bring up the whites just a little bit, really make the water pop a little more brighter. We'll keep an eye on that histogram, and I think it's okay. There we have it. Okay, once again, before and after provides a little more detail in that waterfall. Okay, it's not so overblown like it was in the initial image, and there we have it there. So here we have basic, quick editing workflow right there. Let me know what you think. If you would like a second video, hit me up. All right, just leave a comment, suggestion. Make sure and subscribe and like the video. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.